Hey everybody, Juan here, and after we had covered the OtterBox Armor case for the iPhone and the OtterBox Drybox cases, the folks at OtterBox were kind enough to send us some of their Defender series of cases, and we're really excited to talk about those. So we're going to be doing a 3-part video segment just showing the different lineup of Defender cases that's currently out there, maybe talking about some of the things that we'll see from OtterBox coming down the pipe soon. So really stoked to share that with you guys. And just so you can see what we'll be talking about, we've got the OtterBox Defender for the iPad. The new iPad and iPad 2 will be using the iPad 3 with this case. We also have the Defender case for the Lumia 920. Wanted to show you Windows Phone users a little love, so I'll be throwing this on my Lumia 920 to show how this can defend the Lumia. And in this video, we're going to be focusing on the OtterBox Defender for the Nexus 7. And this is for the Wi-Fi version of the Nexus 7. There is a slightly different hardware configuration, especially for the SIM card slot for the 3G Nexus 7. So you could probably use this case with the Nexus 7, but you wouldn't have access to all the ports. And as you'll see, popping devices into and out of the Defender case can be a little bit of an issue if you're regularly taking your device out of its case. So let's go ahead and pop this puppy out of its box. Get this out here. So the Defender series of cases are multi-piece cases which are designed to protect tablets and phones from a variety of impacts, scratches, and abrasions. This is not going to be a waterproof line of cases, however. So this isn't going to be like Armor case, even though it adds almost as much bulk as an Armor case might. And I have actually been using this case for a couple days already, and I have to say, I actually kind of like it. Not that there was ever a problem with the Nexus 7 being too thick. I mean, it is a little on the thicker side as far as our smaller tablets go, but you know, it's got a good feel in the hand. And one of the things that I like about this is that it gives it more of like a hardback book kind of feel. It gives you really something to hold on to. It's kind of a meaty case experience. So I'm going to set this aside real quick so that we can take this apart so you can see all the different pieces that go into making a Defender case. Okay, so we can pop this off here. I'm just going to set that over on the side. And so the Defender case is multi-piece. There's a hard plastic shell which the device snaps into, and then there's a rubberized coating which is designed to buffer impacts. And so the very first time I tried to open this case, I thought this seam running along the side was actually how you split the case apart. And I probably spent a good 2 minutes trying to pull these tabs apart, not knowing that this entire shell peels loose. I would recommend, you know, either after watching this video, paying attention to what I just said or following the instructions so you don't look like a dork like I did when I was trying to take this case apart. But we're going to pull these little tabs apart there. I'm just going to open this up. And so this is one of the tricky things about putting this case on, is that this plastic membrane here, which protects your screen, can get gunk under it. So, you know, the very first time you put this case on, you just want to try and get all this stuff out so that you don't have grit in between the screen and the screen guard. And now we're gonna pop in our Nexus 7 there, and then this goes on top. And you can already see like how much I've put this case through, and it's done a phenomenal job of protecting my Nexus 7. My Nexus 7 still looks factory fresh thanks to the folks at OtterBox. I'm just gonna snap that in place. And you can see it doesn't really click in very tight. Once you kind of get all four corners on there, it's secure, but it doesn't, you know, it feels like you could pop it off pretty easily. The Nexus 7 is just giving it enough pressure to kind of keep all these pieces in place. We're going to put this membrane here. We're going to wrap this all the way around the outside of the Nexus. Kind of pop that in, pop that around. And et voila, we have a now much more rugged Nexus 7 than what we started with. And so now you can see everything's got appropriate cutouts. They've done a really good job of making sure you still have access to everything, even though this case is adding a considerable amount of bulk. So, you know, there's the camera right up there up top. Speaker vent has a nice opening right there so that the poor little speaker on the Nexus 7 can actually breathe a bit. We've got ports here for the micro USB and for the headphone jack. And then they've also provided us cutouts for the dual stereo microphones. So there's a cutout right there to make sure that you can still record and you can still be heard during voice chat, and a cutout right there, which I think this is the noise reduction mic. Someone correct me down in the comments later if I was wrong about that. And then the power and volume rocker are easily accessible right there. And all in all, it just gives it a really nice meaty feel in the hand. Like, I like holding on to this. It feels just a little more book-like. It's not a bad experience. Those looking for the thinnest, smallest form factor, you know, definitely look elsewhere. But I'm someone who likes to take my gadgets out and about. My Nexus 7 has been on many film sets where I've felt the need to really sort of baby it and keep it all precious and safe. And a case like this actually helps tremendously in not being as afraid to take my little tablet out of its bag. And this is added to even more when you clip on the screen guard. So it really gives it a nice feel, you know, like this is something you can really hold on to, and a nice sort of extra bezel, so you can kind of rest your thumb somewhere. You can kind of do stuff on the screen. It's just a really nice industrial premium feel for a ruggedized device. And of course, as you're going around the case, you've got these really great deep beveled edges, so that not only is there a membrane protecting your screen, but if for some reason, without the screen guard, that your tablet ended up on its screen, it's far less likely that things are going to directly come in contact with your screen or with your front-facing camera. And that's just nice design. It kind of gives you a little bit more of a lip to protect against drops or abrasions. Like if this gets kind of scratched around, you don't have to worry about it as much because the screen is a little more recessed from the outer edges of the bezel. And another thing that's kind of trick, again, it's only since, you know, I've started reviewing cases for these things that I've even known about features like the magnets that are built into the Nexus 7. So you can turn the Nexus 7 on with a button press and turn it back off. Or when you detach the screen guard, there's a magnet right down there, which hopefully this will work on camera. Once you pop it off, it'll automatically turn on. And when you put the screen guard back on, I can't show you because the screen guard's on, but it will turn the screen back off again. And that's just a trick little feature and something I wasn't even aware that the Nexus 7 could do until I started playing with these cases. So that's awesome. And then from here, you may have noticed that there are these little rubber feet, because when you pop the screen guard off, and look, the screen turned on, you can flick out this little shelf here, and you can use that as a stand for your Nexus 7. And that's just super handy, you know, especially so when you want to prop it up. And you can prop it up in several different orientations. So if you want sort of a shallow angle, you can turn it this way. If you want a higher angle, you can turn it this way. And then from here, you can also prop it up portrait style. The case edge is just a little too thin to do, like, it doesn't quite work with the shallow portrait. So that's like the one side that doesn't work. That's the one angle that won't play for you. You can kind of like wedge it, but that's janky. You don't want to do that. So that doesn't work very well at all. But that's just an excellent design consideration. Since you've got all this extra plastic, you could do something with it. And so now I don't feel the need to carry, you know, extra stand solutions along with me, because my case just has this built in, and it gives me an angle that I like a lot, especially from when I'm working at a desk. I gotta say, if there's a criticism to be had, it's in this rubber shell fitting just a little loose. When we talk about the iPad version of the Defender case, we don't have this problem. You'll see in the next episode when we cover that. But especially when you're hitting these power buttons, the volume rocker and the power button, you can see that the case will bubble. I kind of wish, you know, that this fit just a little more snugly. I don't really think it helps protect the device any by having this extra rubber plastic on the device, and it just makes it feel a little floppy. Like you can kind of see, you can depress it. when you give it just a little bit of a squeeze. And it's most noticeable when you're using these buttons here on the side. Normally, when you're just holding the device, it sort of rests flat. It doesn't really feel too bad. It's just in that one little moment right there, I've got to control the volume or I've got to hit the power, and it just feels a little poofy. But one thing this rubber shell does do phenomenally well is fix a problem that I've got with the Nexus 7's USB jack. And this micro USB port, when you're just letting the Nexus 7 rest on its own, the cable will start to sort of dip or pull. And I don't like that. It makes me wonder if this micro USB jack is going to last a long time. It starts to feel a little loose or a little wiggly, but this little rubber flap, which guards the micro USB, does a really good job of acting like a little shelf for when you plug in a micro USB cable, and it locks it in really securely. And I don't think that they intended for that to be a benefit of this case, but it's something that works tremendously well. And I like that a lot. Like, this doesn't wiggle at all anymore, especially up and down. Like, I've got to kind of I don't want to break my micro USB port, but when your tablet's just charging and this is sort of sticking out the side, that's fantastic. That's excellent. And the only other thing which might be a bummer for some people are the Pogo pins, which I don't even remember. I think they're on this side of the device. The Pogo pins aren't accessible, obviously, just because this has got to cover up all of the sides of the device. But really, I don't know of many like stands or charging cradles which make use of the Pogo pins, and truthfully, you won't be able to use those solutions anymore anyway when you've got this case on, just because it's so much thicker. So, I mean, it's kind of a loss. Like, if you're really into that Nexus 7 charging cradle, then yeah, maybe this isn't the case for you. But I don't know of a whole lot of people who are using it, and that was kind of an expensive charge cradle to invest in when, maybe a case like this is more utilitarian. So everybody, I am very impressed and very happy with the Nexus 7 Defender case. This is something that lives on my personal Nexus 7. I don't ever take it off. I mean, I only took it off just to show you guys, just to review it for you guys. Otherwise, it's going to live on my tablet. So if you guys were looking at protecting your Nexus 7 just a little bit better, I would highly recommend checking out the Defender case. The retail on this is $70, but I found it on Amazon for under $50. And that's not a bad chunk of change to increase the survivability of your mini tablet tremendously. Make sure that bumps and drops and stuff like that, your tablet will probably survive a little bit better. Yeah, I would definitely recommend checking it out. As always, I'm Juan. This is the Defender series case for the Nexus 7. For our next episode, we're going to take a look at the Defender series case for the iPad. So definitely come back to check that out. And I'll catch you all in the next review.